So, is this visible? My sheets, they are visible to you? Slides?
No, sir. No.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir,
Yes,
it's
sir.
visible.
Yes, sir. It is clearly visible.
Yes, visible, sir.
Is this visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, good morning to all of you.
सर सर थोड़ा हिंदी में सर हिंदी मिक्स है सर निवेदन है आपसे सर
देखिए बोधन सिंह जी please don't disturb in between. Okay.
Acha,
We have got participants from south also. They don't understand a single word of Hindi. Please don't. Please do question in Hindi, and sir will answer in Hindi. But our medium of instruction is English, sir. Sir, many participants are there from south, and they don't understand a single word of Hindi. उनको एक वर्ड नहीं समझ में आता हिंदी का, आप बीच में हिंदी
Okay, I think I'll be trying to balance it to a certain extent. Okay. So today the topic of the discussion is very interesting because we are talking about something very general, but at the same time it is also very important in our daily lives. So the topic for today's presentation is food waste, which is the problem, its environmental impact, and strategies for solving it. So let us begin. First of all, I'd like to know, what do you understand by the term food waste? Do you know anything about this? Have you heard anything about it? Though we have experienced it in our lives, but do you know anything about it? Yes, please.
So, जो food contaminated food.
Contaminating food. No, it's basically we are not contaminating. We are not dealing with any contamination as such. We are talking.
Contaminated जो food थोड़ा सा खराब होने लगा हो, जिसमें कुछ infection हो गया हो, bacterial infection हो गया हो, या थोड़ा सा raw सड़ने लगा हो सर जैसे.
अच्छा, just take the situation. Just take the situation when you go to a marriage party.
सर बचा हुआ.
Okay. And you have all those things. We generally tend to fill our plate to the brim, and then we don't eat all the things, right? So what happens? The rest we just throw it away. So what is that?
That is food waste, sir.
That is food.
Unutilized.
Unutilized, or the one which we don't consume. We just leave it. So that is your food waste. Okay. So now let us see what is the technical definition. There are two terms. One is the food waste. The other one is the food loss. Can anybody tell me the difference between the two? Can you, or are they the same thing? Food loss, food waste.
No, sir.
So what's the difference, please?
No.
Could you tell me?
सर फूड वेस्ट इज लाइक कि जैसे अभी आपने बताया कि जैसे हम शादियों में जाते हैं, किसी पार्टीज में जाते हैं, तो वो वेस्ट हो गया, उसको ह्यूमन बीइंग कंज्यूम नहीं कर सकते, पर सर वो एनिमल वगैरह उनको कंज्यूम कर सकते हैं. पर सर फूड लॉस जिसको एनिमल या किसी भी तरीके से यूटिलाइज ना किया जा सके, आई थिंक.
फूड लॉस सर, फूड लॉस अगर फ्रूट प्रिपरेशन के दौरान जो इंग्रेडिएंट्स जो है वो बचे रहते हैं, वो भी तो पार्ट ऑफ फूड ही होते हैं सर, लेकिन वो वेस्ट हो जाते हैं. फूड लॉस
सर जो यूजुअली प्रोडक्शन और पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट के टाइम सर जो होता है फूड लॉस.
Yes, that is what it is. She's right. So food loss is basically, you see the entire process of food production, right from the sowing to the harvesting to the transportation from the farm, and then it goes to the retailer, and then from the retailer it comes to the consumer, and the consumer use it. So that is basically the food supply chain, as we call it. Now in that food supply chain, the initial part, that is the food production at the farmer's end, and its transportation and all that, basically is the part which is which entails the food loss. Okay. whatever food is lost in that particular part of the food supply chain, that is called as the food loss. And once it comes to the consumer, it comes to the retailer, it comes to the malls in a finished form, and we eat it, and then we leave it, part of it, that left out part, that is your food waste. Okay, so you might be wondering why I have taken up this insignificant sort of a thing for discussion. But as we'll proceed through the discussion, हम लोग देखेंगे कि ये this is a very very big problem. It's not a very small thing जो हम अपनी प्लेट में थोड़ा सा छोड़ देते हैं, खाते टाइम थोड़ा सा छोड़ दिया, उसको फेंक दिया डस्टबिन में, तो वो जब छोटे छोटे इंक्रीमेंट्स जुड़ जाते हैं तो वो कितनी बड़ा लॉस बनते हैं, कितना बड़ा लॉस बनते हैं, हाउ मच बिग प्रॉब्लम दे बिकम, that we are going to see today, and we are going to appreciate it at the end of the lecture. So let us begin. What is food loss? Is it visible? Food loss
No,
is nothing. It is nothing but the food that is damaged as it moves through the supply chain, especially during harvest, storage, and transportation. So you have
Your
the
PPT.
sir,
Sir, your
your slide
PPT
is not visible.
PPT is not visible.
PPT.
No,
Please
sir.
go to your PPT.
No, sir.
Okay.
Screen is showing in infinity mirror.
Please go to your PPT.
No, sir.
On your laptop, please go to your PPT.
Yes. I will stop sharing now.
Please share your screen once again
Okay.
using entire screen.
Entire screen. Okay. Now, is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Now go to your PPT and open your PPT.
Is it
Yes.
visible now?
आप PPT खोलिए सर आप. हाँ.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now full screen.
No, sir.
Sir, full screen कर दीजिए इसे. Now it's perfectly fine.
No,
Now perfectly fine.
Visible, sir. Visible.
Okay, fine.
So can we get this PPT after class?
We'll see. Okay. First, you concentrate on the class, and then we'll talk about it later on. Okay. So, food loss basically is what? That is the food as it moves. Now, the food is produced, the potatoes they are produced, harvested, then they go to the store, cold store, and then they are transported to the consumers, to the retailers, to the malls. Now, in these stages, whatever the losses are there, they are the food loss.
John sir, please mute. John sir, please mute.
क्या हुआ भाई? प्लीज बाकी लोग म्यूट कर दें अपने आप को. ऑल द अदर्स दे प्लीज म्यूट, अदरवाइज देयर विल बी डिस्टर्बेंस. Now, then you have the food waste, the edible food that is thrown away by malls, retailers, or consumers. That is basically your food waste. So, food loss, basically, if you see the supply chain, food supply chain, you will find that food loss happens earlier, and the food waste that occurs at a later stage. Okay, that occurs at a later stage. Now, if you see the definition, that is a formal definition which is given by the Food and Agriculture Organization, that it says that food loss is considered as the decrease in dry matter or nutritional value, which is the quality of the food that was intended originally for human consumption, and this could be caused due to various inefficiencies that are there in the food supply chain, like you've got poor infrastructure, you've got technological inefficiencies, you have a very rudimentary sort of technology, and you lack the knowledge and skills of the participants at various levels of the food supply chain. So because of this, they have defined, FAO has defined food loss as that which results in a decrease in the dry matter and the nutritional quality of the food. So any action that is directed towards that leads to food loss. And food loss, food waste, what it is, it refers to the food that is appropriate for human consumption, but it is being discarded or being spoiled. Are getting it? So this food waste is good for human consumption, but we have not chosen to use it. That is the difference between food loss and food waste. So this is one definition given by the FAO. And then there is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, which specifically gives the definition of food waste as the byproducts or waste originating from houses, canteens, hotels, restaurants, catering services, and several food-based industries, etc. Food waste are considered as the non-product streams of constituents where their economic worth is below the collection and retrieval cost, and hence they are thrown away as waste. So that is your United Nations Industrial Development Organization definition. So this is now how this problem was there for many time since a very long time, but this problem was brought to the fore or brought into perspective by two recent reports. I am going to discuss these two recent reports in to a certain extent. And these two reports, जो कि एक फूड लॉसेस पर है और एक फूड वेस्ट पर है, तो ये बहुत रीसेंट है और इनके बाद कोई ऐसी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव रिपोर्ट नहीं आई है. तो दे हैव thrown the light on the magnitude of the food losses and the magnitude of the food waste. हम लोग समझते हैं food loss छोटी सी चीज है, food waste छोटी सी चीज है. But if you go through these reports, they are really eye-opening, and you will find that they are really, this is a great problem on our hands. So there are two reports. One is Driven to Waste, Global Food Loss on Farms, and it's a new report which quantifies the total amount of food lost on the farms globally. तो ये जो है ये रिपोर्ट सारे फूड लॉस के बारे में ग्लोबली, ये जो फूड लॉस हो रहा है उसके बारे में ये फूड लॉस को क्वांटिफाई करती है. तो ये जुलाई 21, 2021 में जारी हुई, एंड इट वाज बाय WWF एंड टेस्को. टेस्को इज अ ब्रिटिश ग्रोसरी जायंट, and so they combined together and they gave this report. They prepared this report, Driven to Waste. So this report is on global food loss on the farms. The second report, which is another very comprehensive document, that is basically the Food Waste Index Report 2021 from the United Nations Environment Program and partner organization.
So not audible.
Pardon?
So not audible.
Not audible?
No, sir, you are audible. No problem, sir. You are audible.
No, you are audible. Please continue, sir.
Okay. So this is based by this was prepared by UNEP and UK-based non-government organization, which is RAP short. It is short for Waste and Resources Action Program, and it is based on the waste generated in 2019. So these two reports, they were really eye-openers. So we'll see what is the what are the key findings of the report that is on food loss, which is Driven to Waste. So what we see in this, it is on the on-farm losses since 2011. So we find the key findings are that how much food is wasted every year, goes uneaten around the world each year. It is around 2.5 billion tons. 2.5 अरब ton जो है food, it goes around the world each year uneaten. Okay. And of this, 1.3 billion tons is wasted each year. And these new estimates indicate that all the food grown, how much of the food that goes uneaten, that is around 40%. Earlier, the figures were around 33%. It was estimated that it was 33%, but it was a very empirical sort of a estimation. Now they have carried out a very thorough estimation, and based on that, they are saying that it is 40% that goes uneaten. Then this report also notes that increases in total amount of food lost and waste means what? The generation of greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions किसके लिए है? Responsible for the global warming that we are experiencing. Okay, so we find that earlier the estimates were 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions, but now it is around 10%, which are generated by the food that goes unconsumed. So whatever food we are not consuming, that also generates greenhouse gas emissions, which ultimately lead to climate change and lead to the deterioration of the environment. Okay, so this figure is very important. 2.5 billion tons of food goes uneaten every year, and about 40% of the total food it is, and you get around 10% of greenhouse gas emissions because of this uneaten food. Okay, then if you break up this 2.5 billion tons, you will find that around 1.2 billion tons of food is lost on the farms. How much? 1.2 billion tons is lost on the farms. तो ये क्या हो गया? Food loss हो गया. ठीक है? फिर 931 million tons of food is wasted in retail, food service and consumer homes. तो ये क्या है? ये कौन सी फिगर कहाँ से मिली हमें? यूनाइटेड नेशंस एनवायरनमेंट प्रोग्राम फूड वेस्ट इंडेक्स रिपोर्ट 21, जो दूसरी रिपोर्ट हम डिस्कस करेंगे, वो क्या कहती है? It says that 931 million tons of food is wasted in the retail, food service and consumer homes, and the balance, that is around 300 million tons, or say 269 million tons, that is estimated as losses occurring in the post farm gate transport. So on the farm itself, you see how much is being lost. 1.2 billion tons is being lost on the farms, and around 300 million tons, or 269 million tons to be precise, that is being wasted on the post farm gate transport, storage, manufacturing, processing stages. तो मॉल्स में जाने से पहले, कंज्यूमर के पास जाने से पहले, रिटेलर के पास जाने से पहले हमारा फूड कितना लॉस हो रहा है? 269 मिलियन टन्स, और 1.2 बिलियन टन्स हमारा लॉस हो रहा है फार्म्स पर, और 931 मिलियन टन्स हो रहा है हमारा, इट इज बीइंग वेस्टेड इन दी homes, in the retail food service, and in the food service and in retail. Okay, so that is around 931 million tons, of which this is the food waste. So ये 931 million tons जो है, that is the food waste, and this 1.2 billion tons and this 269 million tons, they will categorize, they will fall in the category of food loss. Okay, so because our lecture today is on food waste, so we will be discussing about the food waste, which is 931 million tons of the food waste. So now this 931 million tons is being wasted where? In retail. Retailers, they are wasting it. In food service, catering, restaurants, hotels, they are wasting it. And the consumers, we the people. So we the people are also wasting the food. So these three components, that is the retailer, the food service and consumer, they are wasting it, and it is around 931 million tons. So first we will see some very interesting facts about food waste and food loss. ये जो 1.2 बिलियन टन्स ऑफ फूड आप लोग वेस्ट कर रहे हैं फार्म्स पर ईच ईयर, जो फार्म्स पे हमारा फूड वेस्ट हो रहा है, तो ये कितना, इसको अगर इसको वेट में बदल दिया जाए ब्लू व्हेल्स के, तो कितनी ब्लू व्हेल्स हो जाएंगी इससे? 10 मिलियन ब्लू व्हेल्स. ओके, and this is just for comparison to tell you the magnitude of this waste. So this is lost on farms each year, and it is much more than the 931 million tons that you are wasting in retail, food service and households, and it is enough to feed the world's 870 million undernourished 4 times over. So there are 870 million people who are undernourished in the world. समझे? 87 करोड़ लोग जो हैं वो अंडर नरिश्ड हैं इन दिस वर्ल्ड. तो उनको 4 टाइम्स उनको पूरा आप खिला सकते हो, इतना फूड है ये. कितना? 1.2 बिलियन टन्स ऑफ फूड दैट वी आर लूजिंग ऑन द फार्म्स. Isn't it an eye opener? Isn't it an eye opener for you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So another comparison. 2.2 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent is the overall carbon footprint of farm stage food waste, which is how much? 2.2 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent is the carbon footprint of the farm stage food waste. And it is about 4% of all the anthropogenic greenhouse gases emissions and 16% of the agricultural emissions, and this is equivalent to the emissions from 75% of all the cars driven in Europe and USA over a year. So if you take the emissions generated by 75% cars driven in the US and Europe over a year, you will find that what they are contributing, that is being contributed in terms of carbon dioxide, that is being contributed by the farm stage food waste. So that is driven the first report that we were talking about. This is the fact that came out of this. So we are polluting. The other thing is that how much land is required to grow the food that is being lost on the farms each year? That is around 4.4 million square kilometers of land that is being utilized to grow the food which is being lost on the farms each year. And you know how much this area is? This area is larger than the Indian subcontinent. Is this clear? So subcontinent means India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, right? So all those countries together, they form the Indian subcontinent. So it is greater than the area of Indian subcontinent. And this is the land. If you take this and you grow the food on the entire land of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, so that much amount of food that is grown, that is lost without any trace. Is this clear? Had this area, had this food been utilized properly, then we could have utilized this area for rewilding efforts. So you can see the loss that we are having. So these were some of the findings that were there from that driven to waste report. And you can very well see that it was a startling revelation कि इतना ज्यादा हम लोग फूड जो है वो कहाँ पर वेस्ट कर देते हैं? फार्म्स में, जो जहाँ पे वो पैदा हो रहा है फूड, where we are producing the food, we are losing that much quantity, 1.2 billion tons of food every year on the farms. And that is a huge quantity which could serve 870 million undernourished people of the world 4 times over. Now let us come to the next report, which was an eye-opener, and that was the Waste Index Report 2021. And that, what were the key findings of this report? Global food waste, how much? We have seen 931 million tons of food was generated in 2019, and that is around 17% of the total global food production. So how much we are producing? We are producing somewhere between 5.31 million 5.31 billion tons of food is being produced, and of this 931 million tons of food is being wasted. Waste generation is 931 million tons. Now, a very important thing which is here. If you see this part, what is this? Waste by sector. What are the sectors? So food waste, as I told you, is composed of three main culprits are there in food waste. One is the retail, the second one is the food service, the third one is the households. Okay. So if you see how much of this 931 million tons is being produced, is being wasted by each of the components, you will find that 61% is being wasted by the households. Who? You and me. Food service, the restaurants, the hotels and all, they are wasting 26%, and retailers, they are wasting 13%. So who are the real culprits in this wastage drama of 931 million tons? The households. We and you are the real culprits, and we don't even realize it. अरे थोड़ा सा फेंक दिया खाना तो क्या हुआ, नहीं खाया, हमको अच्छा नहीं लगा, हमने फेंक दिया, कोई बात नहीं. But what we are doing, we are contributing 61% to the pool of food waste. Is it clear? So that thing you should keep in mind always, that it is the households which are the main culprits for the global food waste. We are responsible for that. If you see the per capita food waste, it is the global average is 121 kgs per year, and the range it generally varies from 50 to 100 kgs in nearly every country where data was available. Then if you compare this to the previous estimates, then the amount of food waste is substantially higher than the previous estimates. Now, if you see the geographical distribution, you will find that food waste is a global problem. It is not that the rich people, the Americans, the Europeans, they are wasting more food and we are not wasting more food. It's not just that. Food waste is a global problem, and it is not just restricted to developed countries. If you have the per capita household food waste across country varies according to the income groups. You will find that the rich, they are wasting more in every country, and then the middle class, and then the lower classes. If you see the environmental impact, then food waste accounts for 8 to 10% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And so that is a very big amount. As I told you, it's equivalent to around say 75% of all the cars that are generating in terms of carbon dioxide equivalent. So that is around 75% of all the cars emitting their emissions in 1 year in Europe and USA. Now, the other thing is that you will find that it is approximately $1 trillion worth of food is lost or wasted every year. So if you see the total economic cost, environmental cost, social cost, so that comes out to be a whopping $2.6 trillion, which is equivalent to, say, the budgets, the GDPs of several countries put together. $2.6 trillion. And $1 trillion worth of food is lost or wasted every year. Now, the other thing is the SDG target. Can anybody tell me what does this SDG stand for?
Sustainable
Development Goal.
Very good, very good. So Sustainable Development Goals. And now in 2015, the UN General Assembly, it said that enough is enough. The world is going into using things indiscriminately, and everything is, we have to have a sustainable world. So for that, they set up some 17 targets, and these targets are known as the Sustainable Development Goals, and they set 2030 as the date for achieving these targets. So these goals. So in this, you've got the goal number 12 and target number 3. So this basically, it says that we have to halve the food waste by 2030. That is what it says, the Sustainable Development Target 12.3. But the pace at which we are moving, the efforts at reducing food waste, they are very very feeble और बहुत कमजोर हैं वो efforts. तो लिहाजा ये 2030 तक ये हमारा जो goal है, it is very unlikely that we'll be able to achieve it. Now here you can see that I have tried to give, for those who don't know what sustainable development goals are, the 17 interlinked global goals, and they were designed to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. So then you see this target number 3, it aims at reducing by half the per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels, and the reduction of food losses along production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses, by 2030. But you see that by 2030, we'll not be able to achieve this target because we have started very late. Okay, so and then there was this SDG number 2, that is the Sustainable Development Goal number 2, that was to achieve zero hunger by 2030. तो ये भी पूरा नहीं होगा क्योंकि the number of people affected by hunger would surpass 840 millions by 2030. So these two goals, they are there as the they are the goalposts that we have assigned to ourselves, but it is very likely that we'll be able to achieve them. But nevertheless, we will have to wake up, and we'll have to take up the issues across the globe, and then we'll have to prevent food waste, think of ways and means to prevent food waste. And if these consumers, okay, you and me, if we basically do something, then we would be making a great contribution to this effort. Then this food waste report, it says further that 690 million people were affected by hunger in 2019 when this report was made, and the data for which it was taken, and this estimate has risen sharply, and now it stands at around 820 million, I think. And these people, they are facing hunger. The other day, I read a newspaper report. It was about 2 African countries. One is Namibia, the other one is Zimbabwe. So they are facing extreme drought and hunger conditions, and then the government there has allowed people to hunt down wild animals for eating purposes. They have given permission to kill elephants to eat, and they have also given permission to for other animals to be hunted down and eaten. This is the magnitude of the problem that they are facing. Okay, so on one hand, this is a paradox sort of a situation, a very paradoxical situation that we are facing. On one hand, we've got so much of food which we are wasting. On the other hand, a third of the people, you see 820 million people, they are on the verge of starvation. Okay. And then 3 billion people are unable to afford a healthy diet. That is, they are undernourished. And nearly 2 billion people are overweight or obese, which means that these obese people, it is obvious that they have a lot to eat, whereas these people, 3 billion people, it is assumed that they are unable to afford a healthy diet. So these are some of the revelations. Now, what were the implications of this report? That this report basically put a challenge. It challenged the notion, the idea कि फूड वेस्ट जो है वो डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज की प्रॉब्लम है. इससे पहले क्या समझा जाता था? It was thought that the food waste is a problem of the developed countries. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है, ये हर कंट्री में इसकी प्रॉब्लम है. As we'll see later on, it is a problem of all countries, and in every country you've got various strata of people according to the incomes, according to the level of education and all, according to the affluence that they have. तो उसके हिसाब से हर कंट्री में ये प्रॉब्लम है. ठीक है. The second thing which it says that it highlights the need for action at both household and supply chain levels. तो ये कहती है कि इससे पहले ये समझा जा रहा था कि सप्लाई चेन लेवल्स को हम कंट्रोल करें, बट नाउ दिस रिपोर्ट हैज सेड दैट वी नीड टू टेक एक्शन ऑन बोथ हाउसहोल्ड एज वेल एज द सप्लाई चेन लेवल्स. Then it emphasizes the importance of better data collection for informed policy making. तो देखिए, जब भी कभी कोई चीज डिजाइन होगी, कोई भी चीज हम बनाएंगे, कोई स्ट्रैटेजी बनाएंगे या कोई इक्विपमेंट डिजाइन करेंगे, you might be knowing that for it is very important that we should have proper data collection. If the data collected is good, then you will be able to make things based on that data. You will be able to make policies, you will be able to design equipments, you will be able to design strategies more accurately if you got better data collection. So it emphasizes that better data collection should be there to make informed decisions. So it in recommendations, it recommends that there should be improved national reporting on food waste data, that countries, they should come forward and put in place accurate systems so as to report the data, so as to generate genuine data on the food waste, so as to collect genuine data on the food waste. Then implement targeted reduction programs across all sectors. That it suggests that action on food waste is equally relevant in high, upper, middle and lower middle income countries. So it says that we have to have reduction programs across all sectors, and it is relevant that you should have all the it should have programs for all the countries irrespective of their incomes. Then it says that since this food waste, it is generating greenhouse gas emissions, and it is also contributing to the climate change. Therefore, it should be amalgamated or should be integrated into climate change mitigation strategies. वो programs जो हम climate change को tackle करने के लिए बना रहे हैं, उसके अंदर food waste को integrate कर ले. फिर last, it says that public awareness and education on food waste prevention is very, very necessary. So we should increase public awareness and education on food waste prevention. और फिर इसने एक methodology note दिया है. The report uses a new modeling approach to fill data gaps, and then it acknowledges limitations in data availability and quality in many countries. तो ये दोनों चीजें इसने acknowledge की. So this was, and then what it says, one more thing, that that about 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions are associated with food that is not consumed. So वो कहता है कि this report says that if you are able to reduce food waste, you will be cutting greenhouse gas emissions, you will be slowing the destruction of nature through conservation of land, conversion and pollution, or you will be enhancing the availability of food and thus reduce hunger, and then you will be saving money at a time of global recession. So yes, these will be the benefits that will accrue if you will reduce the food waste. These will be the direct benefits that will be there for our earth, for the sustainability of this earth, for the future of our coming generations. Okay. So it's very necessary that we should take this into consideration. Now this figure is available. So in this report, so food available for consumption was 5.3 billion tons and food waste was 931 million tons, of which we are concerned. ठीक है, तो ये कितना हो गया? अगर इसको 931 को million tons को if you divide it by 5.3 billion tons, okay, so how much it comes out? It comes out to be 17%. तो 17% जो है वो फूड वेस्ट है. अब इस फूड वेस्ट की सोर्सेस क्या हैं जो जनरेट कर रहे हैं इसको? 13% is being generated by the retailers, 26% is being generated by the food service, and as I told you, a whopping 61% is being generated by the households. और annual per capita food wastage globally कितना? 121 kg, और households का 74 kg per year है. Food service 32 kg करती है, so that you can always calculate from this, and retail is 15 kg. So retailers they are. Now if you see the per capita, annual per capita wastage at households, you will find Nigeria, it is the worst with 189. Though Nigeria is not a developed country, but you will find that the household wastage is the most in Nigeria. Rwanda 164, Greece 147 kgs per annum per capita, Bahrain 132, Malta 129, and then you see Israel 100, UAE 95. So if you see India, the case of South Asia, you will find it is Afghanistan which is generating the most, and then you will find India which is generating the least. But it is per capita. Okay, it is per capita per year, kg per capita per year. So it does not mean we shouldn't be happy that we are at the bottom of this thing and we are generating the least, but it is per capita. But if you take the population, multiply this 50 by the population of the country, so you will get a huge amount, which will be much more than the combined waste generated by these tiny countries like Afghanistan, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and many other countries of the world. So if you take it in totality, it will be a very huge quantity. Okay. Now let us see some of the interesting facts that are there about food waste. Now the water used to produce the food wasted, that is how much? That could be used by 9 billion people at around 200 liters per day per person. The food currently wasted in Europe could feed 200 million people in Latin America and 300 million people in Africa. So the Europeans, the food that they are wasting, that could be used to give food to feed 200 people in Latin America and 300 million people in Africa. Now, if you see, if you consider food loss as a country, अगर इसको माने कि ये एक देश है food loss जो है, तो food loss जो है 1.3 billion tons जो है वो कितना वो गैस एमिटर, कितना बड़ा गैस एमिटर है ग्रीन हाउस गैस का? It will be at number 3 after China and the US. So you can imagine the greenhouse gas emissions that this is doing. Now, if you break it down by food group, losses and waste per year are roughly 30% for cereals. Cereals are 30% are lost, 40 to 50% loss is there in root crops and fruits and vegetables, and 20% is the loss that is in there for oil seeds and meat and dairy, and 35% for fish. So these are some of the interesting figures. Now, if 25% of food currently being lost or wasted globally was saved, it would be enough to feed 870 million people around the world. And the other thing is that by the mid-century, you will have 9 billion people roaming this earth, and the food production in 9 अरब लोगों को खिलाने के लिए कितना चाहिए, कितना increase होना चाहिए? By 70% from today's level to meet this demand. अगर if we are to feed these people 9 billion people, तो जो अब हम produce कर रहे हैं 531 million tons, 5.31 billion tons जो produce कर रहे हैं, उसको हमें 70% increase करना होगा इस लेवल को मीट करने के लिए. So are we ready for that? I'm at a loss to understand that we are not. I'm sorry to say that we are not. Now what is there? The food losses that are there on the farm, they are basically the lost income for the farmers and higher prices for the consumers, because less is the quantity, more is the demand, higher is the price. So जब आप farmers, they will lose on the farm, तो वो क्या होगा? They will be bringing lesser amount of produce to the markets, so demand will be more and the prices will be high. So consumers have to pay the more prices, farmers have to lose the income, and so this is another incentive for preventing food loss. If we prevent food losses on the farm, we will translate more income to the farmers and lower prices for the consumers. और अगर आप देखें तो developing countries 40% of losses occur at the post harvest and processing stages, while in developed countries more than 40% losses occur at the retail and consumer levels. This is a very important difference between the nature of the food loss and food waste. You will find that post-harvest and processing losses are more in developing countries because they don't have those facilities, okay? And the developed countries, they have more losses, 40% losses of the food they occur at the retail and consumer levels, which you can say that the developed countries, they have less things. They are not putting in strategies at that rate so as to avoid these losses. Then you see that at the retail level you've got losses in the developed countries because there is a lot of importance to the appearance of the food. आप भी जाएंगे कहीं बाजार में तो अगर आपको सब्जी मिलेगी, कोई बहुत गली सड़ी सी दिखाई देने वाली सब्जी होगी, पॉक मार्क बैंगन होंगे या पोटैटोज होंगे या और चीजें होंगी, तो you will not buy them. You will buy those produce which is good in appearance. तो इसकी वजह से क्या होगा, जो अगली लुकिंग है बेचारा फूड, दैट इज थ्रोन अवे. तो अमेरिका में क्या है, हाफ ऑफ ऑल प्रोड्यूस इज थ्रोन अवे इन द यूएस. व्हाई? बिकॉज इट इज लुकिंग टू अगली. और ये कितना है? इट इज अराउंड 60 मिलियन टन्स ऑफ फ्रूट्स एंड वेजिटेबल्स. देन another interesting figure that an area larger than China and 25% of the world's fresh water supply is used to grow food that is never eaten. So that food that is never eaten, that consumes how much of the world's water? Fresh water, 25%, and area larger than China, or you can say the subcontinent, greater than the subcontinent. Then food waste, the promotions in the supermarkets, they lead to more food waste. And then we've got our quality standards, which are basically tailored to the appearance of the crops. So because of that, we allow some of the food to go unharvested, or we allow it to rot. And one very interesting fact then, that in Europe 40 to 60% of the fish caught are discarded because they do not meet the supermarket regulations which are there for a particular appearance of the fish. And then in US, if you see, the organic waste is the largest source of methane emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. So these are some facts about the food waste and the food loss. Now 17% of the total global food production, that is around of 5.3 billion tons जो total है, उसमें से 17% is wasted, which is around 931 million tons. तो अगर आप इसको कहिए तो if you compare it, if you see the magnitude of this problem, you will find that the weight of the global food waste roughly equals India's total production. India का total production जो food grains का है, oil seeds का है, sugar cane का है, horticulture है, वो सारा अगर आप उसका weight ले लीजिए तो that will equal to how much? That will equal to the food waste that was generated in 2019. ठीक है? Another comparison is that if you take this waste, 931 million tons, and you fill 23 million 40-ton trucks, and you join them bumper to bumper, so you can circle the earth 7 times. Or you can say that if you take the circumference of the earth 7 times, these 23 million trucks, they would be lined up in that particular length. So this is the huge magnitude of the food that we are wasting. So these are some, now with only 9 years to go, we will not achieve SDG 12, target 3 if we do not significantly increase investment in tackling food waste in the home globally. So tackling food waste in the home, that should be our priority of not only the governments, but international organizations, businesses, philanthropic or foundations. This is what Marcus Grover, CEO of RAP, has said. RAP जिसने ये report बनाई UNEP के साथ. So I think by now आप लोगों को ये पता चल गया होगा कि I hope that by now you might be realizing or appreciating that food loss and food waste, they are very great problems of our day. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
Right, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, sir.
So how to
Yes, sir.
make this thing like you have your Father's Day, your Mother's Day, your Sister's Day, right? So UN is very adept at making these things these days. So in order to make it an awareness day, they have designated 29 September 2021. They gave it as the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste. FL and W it is represented as. So stop food loss and waste for the people and for the planet. So they every year 29 September is celebrated as the World Food Loss and Waste Day. So this is just to generate awareness amongst the people, because it is the people who are the most culprit. 61% of the total food waste that is being generated by the households. And most of the people, they are generally ignorant about the great harm they are causing to the planet. So if you see the food supply chain, you will find that the food supply chain, there are various stages of the food supply chain, and related to food loss and food waste. You will find this production, then handling and storage, then processing, then distribution and marketing, consumption. So in this, if you see this distribution and marketing and this, so that basically part is the food waste part, and up to this processing and just going up to the before the retailers they take it or the malls they take it, that part is called as the food loss part. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे food loss generate होता है, और यहाँ पर जो food waste होता है, that is called as the food loss, और यहाँ पर जो food goes uneaten, that is the food waste part, and total is the food loss and weight. So I think it's clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the main drivers and sources of food waste, now these I think we'll skip it, because these are quite obvious that we have. Now, if you see the causes of food waste, you will find that production and post-harvest losses, retail and distribution factors, consumer behavior. So these are the major causes of food waste. Now, production and post-harvest losses, So production and post-harvest losses means that unpredictable conditions of weather, they lead to crop damage. Then inadequate pest control results in loss during cultivation. Then poor harvesting techniques, they cause damage and spoilage. Then storage issues are there, where you have the lack of cold storage facilities, especially in developing countries. And the climate is also very is not conducive, so you generally need good storage facilities, which are lacking in the developing countries, and they result in the food that goes uneaten. Then transportation delays are there, mishandling during transit, they also lead to spoilage. Then if you see the retail and distribution factors, you will find that the cosmetic standards of ugly and good looking, that they basically tend to they lead to the discarding of the produce despite it being edible. So it is edible, but since it is not looking good, you throw it away. Then overstocking, रिटेलर्स बेसिकली जो अनसोल्ड उनके पास सामान होता है उसको जनरली डिस्कार्ड कर देते हैं अपने फ्रेश स्टॉक लाने के लिए. फिर बाय, सेल बाय एंड एक्सपायरी डेट्स, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो इसके ऊपर कंफ्यूजन होता है, बिकॉज ऑफ दिस वी गो इन फॉर अननेसेसरी डिस्पोजल. हम चीजों को फेंक देते हैं, फूड को, उसके ऊपर जो लेबल्स लगे होते हैं. तो लेबलिंग इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. फिर प्राइसिंग टैक्टिक्स जो है, उसकी वजह से फूड लॉस बहुत होता है. डिस्काउंट्स ऑन लार्ज क्वांटिटीज प्रोमोट ओवर बाइंग एंड वेस्ट. अब अगर आप मार्केट में जाएंगे, मॉल में, वो कहेंगे एक के साथ एक फ्री है, तो आप क्या करेंगे, वही चीज खरीद लाएंगे और उसको फिर आप इस्तेमाल नहीं करेंगे. ठीक है ना. तो इट माइट जस्ट गो एज वेस्ट. You are overbuying and you are that is leading to waste. Then there could be inefficiencies in the supply chain. Delays between harvest and shelf lead to perishability. So if there's a delay between the harvest and the market, then it could lead to perishability. So these are some of the factors. Then consumer behavior. Consumer behavior क्या है, हम आप कंज्यूमर हैं, तो हमारा ओवर बाइंग का बिहेवियर है. जितना हमको जरूरत नहीं है हम उससे ज्यादा ले आते हैं. प्रॉपर मील प्लानिंग नहीं करते हैं, जो एक्सेस फूड बन जाता है कि घर में 2 लोग हैं और बना लिया 4 लोगों के लिए, तो बाकी जो जाएगा वो इट विल गो एज वेस्ट. फिर दूसरे, हमें जो है वी आर अनअवेयर of the problem that we are creating. Lack of awareness है about the environmental impact of food waste. फिर स्टोरेज इश्यूज हैं, हमारे घर में भी प्रॉपर स्टोरेज नहीं होती है, जिसकी वजह से स्पॉइलेज है. Then cultural factors, social events and celebrations often lead to over preparation and waste, especially in India, where we have huge functions on marriage and other social functions are there. तो उस पे हम बहुत ज्यादा ओवर प्रिपरेशन कर लेते हैं and that leads to waste. Then environmental impact of food waste, you've got the greenhouse gas emissions, water usage, land use, impact on marine ecosystems. So जो landfills हैं, food waste हम जो है, it also goes into the landfills. तो वहाँ से landfills में से ये it produces greenhouse gas, which is highly undesirable as far as climate change is concerned. Controlling the environment is concerned. Then carbon footprint, food production, transport and disposal contribute significantly to CO2 emissions. Then energy use in agriculture, energy wasted in food that is never consumed. Then transportation emissions, fossil fuels burned in transporting wasted food. जो food waste कर रहे हैं उसके ऊपर जो transport लग रही है, that is we are burning the fossil fuels also and generating the greenhouse gas emissions. Then there is a great potential of composting this food to reduce emissions. Then water usage, wasted food uses about 25% of the world's freshwater supply. Agriculture water use, inefficient irrigation systems lead to unnecessary water loss. Then you've got water that is embedded in the food. It is never consumed. The food is not consumed, so it goes along with it. Then from the farms, the water that is run off, it goes to the rivers and oceans and it pollutes them. And then global water scarcity, water used in wasted food could be used to meet the water needs of millions. So we are wasting the water in the food, and that could have gone to the millions of people that are without water. Then land use, land footprint of wasted food. 1/3 of the world's arable land is used to grow food that is never eaten. As I told you, the area of China or the area of the Indian subcontinent, that much land you are using for food that is never eaten. Then what you are doing, you are for more food, you are clearing forests, and so a large part of that food you are wasting. So you are destroying the forest, and you are also making the land desertified. Then habitat destruction, you are causing habitat loss for the wildlife, biodiversity loss is there, land degradation is there. So all these things. Then on the marine ecosystems, you are catching more fish. As I told you, in Europe, so much food is lost, so many fish, they are thrown away because they don't look good or they don't meet the strict standards, cosmetic standards. तो overfishing होती है उसकी वजह से. Then unwanted marine life, you are discarding in the fishing industry. If you are catching fish, some unwanted marine life has also come in, so that you are just throwing it away, so it is dying. Then excess nutrients from food waste runoff cause algal blooms and dead zones in the water. Then plastic packaging waste, food waste often packaged in plastic, contributing to ocean pollution, impact on marine life. So all sorts of things they are doing. Now, one thing is the food waste hierarchy. To reduce global food waste at the retail and consumer levels in half by 2030. There was a concept of a waste hierarchy. It was proposed by, it was given a, it was turned into a law by Netherlands MP, right? And it was adopted into the European Waste Framework Directive in 2008. So this, I'm going to show you a diagram of the hierarchy which was produced by the United Nations Environment Program and the FAO, and it is an inverted pyramid with prevention of food and drink waste as the preferred action. तो अब इसको देखिए, ये क्या है, food and drink material hierarchy. तो ये क्या है, ये एक इन्वर्टेड पिरामिड है. तो ये एक फ्रेमवर्क टाइप का है जो कि यूएनईपी और एफएओ ने दिया कि भाई इस तरीके से आप इन चीजों पर काम करें, और कौन सी प्रायोरिटी की चीज होनी चाहिए, कौन सी जो है प्रायोरिटी की कम प्रायोरिटी की चीज होनी चाहिए. तो उसकी हेल्प से यू कैन कंट्रोल दिस प्रॉब्लम ऑफ फूड वेस्ट. तो ऑन द टॉप यू आर फाइंडिंग इन्वर्टेड पिरामिड. क्या है, फर्स्ट थिंग इज prevention. Prevention means waste of raw materials, ingredients and product arising is reduced, measured in overall reduction in waste. Then redistribution to the people is the second thing. Then if you are having food waste, then you can redistribute it to the people. तीसरी बात, अगर people से भी बच जाए तो then what you could do, you could send it to as animal waste. Then there's this recycling. The next preferred option is recycling. For recycling, what you can do, you can send it for anaerobic digestion. Anaerobic digestion का मतलब यह है कि उसका biogas बना लें. Biogas means converting it into fuel, that is methane. या उसको आप compost कर दीजिए, ठीक है, उसका आप फर्टिलाइजर, बायो फर्टिलाइजर बना लीजिए. तो ये दो चीजें रिसाइकलिंग के अंदर उन्होंने सजेस्ट की. तीसरी क्या था, रिकवरी. रिकवरी मींस इंसिनरेशन ऑफ वेस्ट विद रिकवरी ऑफ एनर्जी. इंसिनरेशन माने होता है बर्निंग. इफ यू बर्न एनीथिंग इट इज इंसिनरेशन. अब बर्निंग दो तरह से होती है, एक इंसिनरेशन विदाउट एनर्जी रिकवरी, एक इंसिनरेशन विद एनर्जी रिकवरी. So incineration with energy recovery means that you are getting the heat because it's an organic material. You've got carbon, you've got hydrogen. So when you are supplying it with oxygen, you are burning that waste into carbon dioxide and water, and in the process, heat energy is released. So this heat energy could be utilized for generating steam, and from that steam you could run a power plant or whatever, or you could use that steam for process heating purposes. So that is incineration of waste with energy recovery. And then you've got disposal, which is the least preferred of all the options for waste control, right? So this disposal means that you can just burn the food waste into carbon dioxide and water and just let it go into the air. Okay, so that or you can send it into a landfill, or and so these are some of the things that you can do with the, you can dispose the waste. But this is the least efficient of all the methods, and it is the least preferred of all the methods. So this inverted pyramid that has been given by the UNEP, this diagram, it is very illustrative in the sense that it tells us to concentrate on the various aspects of food waste, food waste reduction. So what you could do, you could prevent food waste, you could recycle food waste, you could recover food waste, and you could dispose the food waste. And this is the most preferred approach is at the top, and the least preferred approach is at the bottom of the pyramid. So is this clear? This pyramid is clear to you? This is basically a framework
Yes,
which
sir.
tells
Yes, sir.
which tells that how you could
Yes,
go
sir.
up the task of reducing food waste. Now, these are some of the strategies for reducing food waste. Prevention at the production level, retail and distribution solutions, consumer education and awareness, technology and innovation, policy and legislative efforts, and international collaboration. तो ये सारी चीजें अगर हम करेंगे तो we'll be able to reduce the food waste. For example, you can go for improved agricultural practices of technology and better farming practices. You can have weather prediction models which can reduce losses due to unpredictable weather, crop diversification, better harvesting techniques, cold storage solutions. So these things you could do at the production level, retail and distribution solutions. You can relaxing cosmetic standards, food donation programs. You could have you heard of the roti banks? Roti banks, additional rotis which you have in your house, those you can donate to the banks, and those banks, they are providing those rotis to those people who are not having it. Okay, so that way they are they are reducing food waste. Okay, then using technology to monitor waste, sustainable packaging, consumer education and awareness. You can have public campaigns, you can have reduced portion sizes. Now, I think somebody has opened his speaker. Could you please mute it?
Nisa ma'am, please mute yourself.
Okay, thank you. So you can have portion sizes. You see, if you go to the restaurants, you order the different sizes of the meals. Okay, full plate, half plate. Okay, so that could be reduced into smaller portions. Once you take that smaller portion, then you can take the next portion. But generally what we do, we go in and we order a huge portion or large portion for us, and part of it we use and part of it we throw. So that results in losses. Meal planning and shopping lists, then educated these consumers, they should be educated on efficient meal planning, and then proper food storage techniques. Households, especially the people, we and you, we should be educated about how to store food to maximize the shelf life, and then we should encourage composting in our homes. Instead of throwing the scraps away into the dustbin, you can have a handy compost system where you can convert those scraps of food waste into valuable fertilizer, which you can use in your garden, or you can sell it also. Okay. Then technology and innovations, you can have food waste apps. Many apps are there. Then you can use artificial intelligence in supply chains to optimize food supply chains and reduce waste. Then you can use blockchain technology for traceability, right? Where the food loss is taking place. Then smart packaging. The packaging could be that it should change color when the food is about to expire, so you know when to use it. Then food waste analytics, tracking and analyzing waste data to identify patterns and reduce losses. So these are then policy and legislative efforts of the government. Food waste reduction goals. Each country should set a target, like US aims for 50% reduction by 2030. Then there could be tax incentives for donations. If somebody is donating surplus food, say for example a restaurant is there which is donating surplus food to the have-nots, so it should get tax incentives. Then there should be a ban on food waste to landfills, like in countries like France. They have outlawed food waste from being sent to the landfill because there it causes the generation of methane, greenhouse gases. So then there could be public-private partnerships to tackle food waste. Then support for food banks. As I told you, there could be a food banks could be there. They could talk of various food recovery initiatives from the households. They could get the wasted food, or from the restaurants they could get the wasted foods. So all those things, they can be there. And then there could be international collaboration, United Nations development goals could be there for halving the food by 2030. Then European Union food waste policy. You've got the Europeans regulations on food waste for prevention and recovery. World Bank support. World Bank could come in and help with finance and technical assistance, especially to the developing countries for reducing food waste. Then there could be global initiatives, organizations like RAP and FAO. They could come in. And then food waste networks. There could be global collaborations to share knowledge and best practices. So all these things, they are there. Say there are certain case studies of food waste reduction. In the US, you've got this food recovery network. It's a student-led initiative recovering surplus food from college campuses. And then the Environment Protection Agency of the US, that has an annual food recovery challenge. So there people, they come and they bring in different ideas, and the best idea is given the trophy. So all these things could be there, which could come in. And then in Europe, you've got the France's supermarket ban. And now in this, in France, there's a law which requires supermarkets to donate unsold food. They've got refrigerators outside, and in those refrigerators, they've got the unsold food, and there they just keep it for the people. And in some countries, you cannot have the food for the next day in restaurants. So that extra food is given to the people, those who don't have. Say by the time the restaurant closes, whatever food is there, that has to be destroyed. Earlier it used to be destroyed, but now it is the law is that they have to give it to the people who don't have it. So all these things, they are there. Now in Denmark, they've got a V Food. Now V Food is what? They are supermarkets, and they are selling surplus food at discounted prices. Surplus food है वो उसको क्या कर रहे हैं? They are selling at discounted prices. Then in developing countries also, in India, you've got the cold storage initiatives, because in India, you see, we are having more than 40% losses of the food. So especially in the post-harvest losses. So we are addressing more towards the better infrastructure, and in that we are trying to establish more cold storage facilities. Then in Brazil, they've got the Zero Hunger program, reducing waste while fighting hunger. Then Kenya, you've got solar powered coolers. Now they are meant to increase the shelf life of the produce. They have been given to the public, and the public, they are using it for increasing the shelf life of the material. Then there are grain storage solutions are there in Uganda, and in Vietnam you've got the World Vietnam Food Banks. They are emerging food bank networks recovering surplus food. So this is the conclusion of this part, that food waste is a global issue with serious environmental, economic, and social impacts. Everyone has to play a key role in reducing food waste, from farmers to consumers. And when we are talking of food waste, especially, we have a great responsibility as consumers. Then future technologies, we have to utilize future technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, smart agriculture, to find solutions for the food waste problem. Then global cooperation is very necessary for between governments, businesses, consumers, so as to find ways and means to overcome this problem. And then the together, I think together we can reduce food and create a more sustainable future for all. Now, as far as India is concerned, you will find that 40% of the food produced in India is wasted annually, which is around 92,000 crores or $14 billion worth of food waste, right? So we have to be very careful. And in India, you see that we have slipped in the global hunger index. Howsoever criticism we may do of the global hunger index, but we have slipped to the 111th position. Earlier we were 107, but now in 23 we have gone to the 111th position. Right now, this is a very, and the level is serious. The score we have got is serious score. So 190 million 19 करोड़ भारतीय जो हैं वो अंडर नरिश्ड है. और ये जो हंगर इंडेक्स है, ये बेसिकली 4 कंपोनेंट्स पे बना है. और 4 कंपोनेंट्स क्या है? अंडर नरिशमेंट, चाइल्ड वेस्टिंग, जिसमें कि बच्चे का जो डेवलपमेंट है वो प्रॉपर नहीं हुआ है, वेस्टिंग या तो टू थिन है फॉर हर हाइट, हिज और हर हाइट. देन चाइल्ड स्टंटिंग, छोटा है, जितना हाइट होनी चाहिए उतनी हाइट नहीं है. एंड चाइल्ड मोर्टेलिटी, कितने बच्चे मर रहे हैं पर 1000 बर्थ्स. तो ये 4 पैरामीटर्स पर बेस्ड है ग्लोबल हंगर इंडेक्स. एंड इट इज, आई एम सॉरी टू से दैट वी हैव faltered in this. We have come to the 111th position, below Bangladesh, below Sri Lanka, and some other tiny countries, underdeveloped countries. We are below them. So we need to, and on top of it, on one hand, we got this global hunger index figures which show that 190 million Indians remain undernourished. On the other hand, we are wasting 40% of our food. So this is really a pathetic situation, because had we given that 40% food to these 190 million people, then there would have been no undernourishment in our country, and we would have fared better in the global hunger index. So we need to, there's a window of opportunity in this, that if we are able to save food, we will be able to help these undernourished brethren of ours. Okay, so that is why I'm telling you this. Now, one thing which I wanted to
So you are not audible.
Okay. Am I now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Continue, please.
Yes,
Now
sir.
one thing quickly which I wanted to take up is how to reduce your food waste at home. Okay. So we can all take action by changing the way we shop, cook and plan our meals to avoid wasting food, money and resources. तो ये सारी स्टेप्स हैं जो हम कर सकते हैं अपने घर में फूड वेस्ट को प्रिवेंट करने के लिए कि प्लान योर मील्स, नो हाउ टू स्टोर योर फूड, अंडरस्टैंड यूज बाय एंड बेस्ट बिफोर डेट्स. ये जो लेबलिंग है फूड की, इसको ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसको थोड़ा सा हम समझें तो वो we'll be able to appreciate more and we'll be able to reduce food waste to a certain extent. And use what you have. Avoid serving too much. Know your molds. Share extra food with others and repurpose waste where possible. तो अब इसमें क्विकली हम आते हैं. Some simple tips can help you to only buy what you need. तो अब इसमें क्या कर सकते हैं हम? Prepare a meal plan for the week. Okay. Check or take a photo of what's left in the fridge and cupboards before shopping, so you know what you have to buy. Go food shopping after a meal rather than right before. ये क्यों है? क्योंकि अगर आप खाना खाकर जाएंगे तो आप वही चीज लेंगे जो आपको जिसकी जरूरत है. अगर आप भूखे पेट चले जाएंगे लेने के लिए तो आप और एक्स्ट्रा चीजें ले आएंगे अननेसेसरी. फैक्टर इन पोटेंशियल ईटिंग आउट ओकेजन्स. कुछ बार आप जो है बाहर भी खाइए. गिव इम्परफेक्ट फ्रूट्स एंड वेजिटेबल्स अ चांस. दे आर परफेक्टली एडिबल एंड न्यूट्रिशियस. तो जो ऐसे इम्परफेक्ट फ्रूट्स हैं, वेजिटेबल्स हैं, उनको थोड़ा सा आप यू गिव देम अ चांस. ओके, यू बाय देम. Just don't buy all those neat and clean and bright fruits and vegetables. Give these imperfect fruits also a chance. Then, now what are common causes of food waste when you are shopping? One thing is buying multi-pack items that may not get used. तो ये मल्टी पैक आइटम्स क्या होंगे कि आप जाएंगे तो कोई बड़ा आइटम है, उसके दाम सस्ते हैं लेकिन आपको उसकी जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन आप फिर भी उसको ले रहे हैं. फिर बाद में पता चला वो वेस्ट हो गया और फिर वो टिक गया. तो उसके लिए व्हाट यू कुड डू, यू कुड शेयर द कॉस्ट एंड गुड्स विद अ फैमिली और अ फ्रेंड. सो दैट यू कुड डू. देन इम्पल्स शॉपिंग. इम्पल्स शॉपिंग इज कि आप कुछ भी ले रहे हैं, मॉल में गए एंड यू स्टार्ट बाइंग एनीथिंग व्हिच यू लाइक. तो वो मत कीजिए. आप एक लिस्ट लेके जाइए एंड स्टिक टू इट. फिर टेम्पटिंग ऑफर्स. जो ऑफर मिल रहे हैं आपको मार्केट में तो उनको अच्छी तरह उसको वर्कआउट कर लीजिए कि वेदर दे आर रियली वर्थ इट और नॉट. देन कंफ्यूजन ओवर डेट लेबल्स. अभी बताते हैं कि कंफ्यूजन जो है, जो भी फूड जो है जिसका लॉन्गेस्ट डेट हो वो आप लीजिए. ठीक है ना. तो और फिर मेक श्योर फूड डजंट डिसअपियर इन द कबर्ड्स और फ्रिज बाय अप्लाइंग द फर्स्ट इन एंड फर्स्ट आउट प्रिंसिपल. तो जो फर्स्ट इन है उसी को फर्स्ट आउट कीजिए. जो आपने सामान फ्रिज में पहली बार रखा है उसी को आप पहली बार निकालिए, और जो आपने बाद में रखा है उसको बाद में निकालिए. होता क्या है कि फ्रिज को आप भर लेते हैं और जो सबसे आगे सामान है वही पहले निकाल के उसको यूज कर लेते हैं. तो इस तरीके से जैसे फ्रेश ग्रोसरीज हैं, दे गो बिहाइंड प्रोडक्ट्स नियरर टू एक्सपायरी डेट्स व्हिच मूव क्लोजर एंड मोर विजिबल. The other thing is organize the fridge by keeping ready to eat food such as leftovers on the top shelf and sealed raw meat and fish on the bottom shelf to avoid dripping. Reserve a separate drawer for fruit and vegetables and keep track of food storage at home by using a digital storage guide, smart fridge or app, online app. देन दो चीजें हैं. जब आप देखते हैं फूड को तो इसमें दो लेबल्स आपको दिखेंगे, यूज बाय और उसमें डेट लिखी होगी यूज बाय से 24 सितंबर एंड बेस्ट बिफोर 24 सितंबर. तो इसमें दोनों में बहुत फर्क है. द फर्स्ट वन इज दैट इट डील्स विद फूड सेफ्टी. ठीक है ना. अब मेडिसिन पे लिखा होगा यूज बाय 24 सितंबर, तो इसका मतलब यह है कि यू यूज इट बाय 24 सितंबर. जैसे पेरिशेबल फूड्स है, मीट है, डेयरी है, रेडी टू ईट मील्स हैं, तो उसमें क्या है कि यूज बाय डेट लिखी होती है, तो दैट इज टू बी एडहियर्ड, उसको आपको मानना है, उस डेट के बाद आप उसको मत यूज कीजिए क्योंकि वो पेरिश हो जाएगा, है ना। दूसरी डेट आप देखते हैं, द नेक्स्ट डेट दैट यू हैव इज बेस्ट बिफोर डेट्स, उसमें लिखा होता है बेस्ट बिफोर सितंबर 2024, तो बेस्ट बिफोर का मतलब है इट टेल्स यू अबाउट द फूड क्वालिटी। तो ये वो जगह है जहां पर आप फूड वेस्ट को प्रिवेंट कर सकते हैं। चक्कर क्या होता है, जैसे ही हम देखते हैं किसी पे लेबल लगा हुआ बेस्ट बिफोर और यूज बाय डेट, तो हम उसको उस डेट के बाद उसको फेंक देते हैं। ऐसा नहीं करना है। बेस्ट बिफोर डेट्स के जिन पर लिखा हुआ, जिन फूड्स पर लिखा हुआ है बेस्ट बिफोर डेट्स, तो उनको हम उस डेट के बाद भी कंज्यूम कर सकते हैं। उसमें क्वालिटी थोड़ी सी हल्की सी खराब होगी, लेकिन यू कैन ट्रस्ट योर सेंसेस, और उसमें जब तक आपको कोई चीज उसमें उसका टेस्ट वेस्ट खराब ना लगे तब तक दैट यू कैन यूज। तो उसको हमें फेंकना नहीं चाहिए। जैसे कि ड्राइड फ्रूट्स हैं, बीन्स हैं, लेंटिल्स हैं, पास्ता है, तो उसको हम बेस्ट बिफोर डेट के बाद भी यूज कर सकते हैं, लेकिन यूज बाय डेट के बाद हमको चीजें यूज नहीं करनी चाहिए। तो हमें क्या करना चाहिए कि जिन जिन फूड्स पे यूज बाय लिखा हुआ है उनको उस डेट से पहले कंज्यूम कर लेना चाहिए हर हालत में। लेकिन बेस्ट बिफोर डेट्स वाले जो हैं उनको हमें फेंकना नहीं चाहिए बेस्ट बिफोर डेट निकलने के बाद, क्योंकि वो फूड क्वालिटी बता रहे हैं। फूड क्वालिटी अगर 19-20 हो भी जाएगी 2-4 दिन के बाद भी, तो दैट वी कैन इजिली यूज। तो हम लोग ये जो लेबल्स में कंफ्यूजन करते हैं कि उसकी वजह से देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ फूड वेस्टेज दैट वी आर इनकरिंग। तो बेस्ट बिफोर डेट जो है वो हमें बताता है कि आप उस डेट के बाद भी यूज कर सकते हैं। तो ये फूड लेबल्स को हमें बहुत अच्छे से देखना है और उसके हिसाब से अपना स्ट्रेटजी बनानी है। So I think these were some of the things. Then you can also
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful session. Myself, Dr. Santosh Kumar.
अच्छा, एक चीज और एक मिनट।
Thank you, sir.
ये जो है ये देख लीजिए, ये जो कोटेशन है महात्मा गांधी का, एंड जस्ट रिमेम्बर इट। Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. So with this, I thank you very much. I hope it was a good, it was something new for you, and you will practice and you will become soldiers of food waste prevention in the days to come.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
very much, sir. You inspired us to stay
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you
And
very much,
I
sir.
want to ask a question. My question is
Ji.
that,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
that you have given the quotation of Mahatma Gandhi, and I am also adding a quotation of लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी। लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी ने कहा, जय जवान जय किसान। जब उन्होंने ये स्लोगन दिया तो उस समय उन्होंने अपने कोटेशन में 1 डे की फास्टिंग की भी बात कही, बिकॉज दैट टाइम आवर कंट्री इज सफरिंग फ्रॉम द फूड क्राइसिस। उन्होंने कहा कि हम सभी देशवासियों को फूड सिक्योरिटी के लिए 1 डे फास्ट भी रखना चाहिए। लेकिन जैसे जैसे हमारा समय बढ़ा, हमारा इंडिया जो है काफी ग्रोथ किया, और उस केस में आज जैसा भी आपने स्लोगन के माध्यम से भी कहा कि हमको ग्रीड नहीं करना चाहिए, तो लेकिन अब ओवर प्रॉस्पर होने के कारण हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, वेस्ट ऑफ द फूड ज्यादा कर रहे हैं। अब मैंने देखा कि हमारे करंट प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने भी सफाई को लेकर अदर इश्यूज पर काफी बोला है, या कोई भी गवर्नमेंट की बात ले ले, लेकिन वो फूड सिक्योरिटी, फूड सेफ्टी पर बोलने से कतराती है, डरती है, क्योंकि यहाँ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन ज्यादा है। क्योंकि इंडिया वो जो कंट्री है, सेकुलर कंट्री है, तो इसमें डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ द फूड खाते हैं। तो सर मेरा ये मानना है कि गवर्नमेंट लेवल पर इस तरह की अवेयरनेस क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि ये डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है, इसलिए ऐसा वो नहीं करते हैं।
नहीं, देखिए ये जो है ना, ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम पीपल विल रियलाइज। अभी तो ये प्रॉब्लम, अभी हम लोग इसका मैग्नीट्यूड को अंडरस्टैंड कर रहे हैं। अगर आप देखें इसके ऊपर फूड वेस्ट पे रिसर्च पेपर्स वगैरह आप देखें, तो दे विल बी, दे आर वेरी लिटिल। ये बात कि हम लोग इसके बारे में बहुत ज्यादा चिंतित है नहीं, अभी अवेयर नहीं है। तो जैसे जैसे ये अवेयरनेस हमारी बढ़ेगी, जैसे जैसे हम लोग जो है इसको रियलाइज करेंगे, अप्रिशिएट करेंगे, और जैसे एनवायरमेंट के और एस्पेक्ट्स पे हम लोग काम शुरू कर दिए हैं, वैसे वैसे फिर इस पे भी काम शुरू होगा, फिर लोग अवेयर होंगे। अब जैसे मिसाल के तौर पे ये है कि शादी है, शादी का फंक्शन है, अब उसमें आपने इतना सारा खाना बनवा लिया। तो आई हैव सीन पीपल इन अलीगढ़ कि उन्होंने जैसे बहुत ज्यादा खाना बनवा लिया, तो अब वो बाकी एक्स्ट्रा खाना जो है उसको वेस्ट करने के बजाय वो क्या कर रहे हैं कि वो दे आर सेंडिंग इट टू दोज ऑर्फनेजेस, और वहां पे उसको रात को भेज देते हैं कि भाई वो बच्चे लोग हैं, ऑर्फन्स हैं, वो। तो इस तरीके की थिंकिंग जो है ना, वो कुछ उस तरीके की, जैसे मैंने आई टोल्ड यू अबाउट द रोटी बैंक, मैंने पढ़ा था कहीं हिमाचल में या कहाँ, समवेयर दे हैव, तो एवरीबडी इज एक्स्ट्रा रोटी उसको दे दे रहे हैं, वो आदमी आता है कलेक्ट करके ले जाता है, कलेक्टिंग लैक ऑफ रोटीज, और वो रोटीज दे आर गिविंग टू द पीपल। इस तरीके से इनिशिएटिव, एंड आई थिंक द फ्यूचर इज वेरी ब्राइट, देयर इज अ विंडो ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस, और हम लोग अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है और इसके ऊपर ध्यान दें कि ये प्रॉब्लम, और आज से अपना खाना जो है, जो एक्स्ट्रा खाना हम लोग ऐसे करते हैं, उसको बहुत ही वो करें, और उसमें जो है उसको अच्छे से इस्तेमाल। ठीक है
सर नमस्कार, मेरा एक प्रश्न है
जी, बताइए
जी। ग्लोबल हंगर इंडेक्स में हमारी पोजीशन सर स्लिप कर गई है 111th पे, और उसमें एक फैक्टर है सर अंडर नरिशमेंट। तो क्या जो इंडियन पॉपुलेशन की ईटिंग हैबिट है उसका भी रोल है, क्योंकि इंडियन पॉपुलेशन में ज्यादातर वेजिटेरियन लोग हैं, काफी लोग वेगनिज्म की तरफ जा रहे हैं, कुछ लोग अनियन और गार्लिक को भी अवॉइड करते हैं। तो क्या ये जो ईटिंग हैबिट्स हैं उनका रोल भी है कि हमारा ग्लोबल हंगर इंडेक्स में पोजीशन स्लिप कर रहा है? थैंक यू सर।
देखिए, वेजिटेबल्स आर इक्वली नरिशिंग, है ना, उसमें तो एक वेजिटेबल्स भी, उनमें भी प्रोटीन होते हैं, उनमें भी फैट होते हैं, उनमें भी वो सारे न्यूट्रिएंट्स होते हैं, वो कोई उसकी वजह नहीं है। वजह ये है कि हमारे कंट्री में और भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, इनइक्विटीज हैं, इनकम का गैप है बहुत ज्यादा बिटवीन द हैव्स एंड हैव नॉट, और बहुत सारी और चीजें हैं, मतलब इट इज नॉट ऑन द ईटिंग हैबिट्स अलोन। और जितना हम लोग फूड वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, अगर उसको हम लोग थोड़ा सा कंट्रोल करके एंड देन वी स्टार्ट गिविंग इट टू द पीपल, तो आई थिंक वी कैन चेंज द सिनारियो, देयर इज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी।
थैंक यू सर।
Sir, myself, Dr. Ajay Kushwaha. Sir, we are discussing about food lost जो हम मिसमैनेज कर रहे हैं, उसके कारण एनवायरनमेंट पे जो इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है, वी आर डिस्कसिंग ऑल दिस थिंग्स। सर, साइंस का जो रूल है एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन का, तो सर जो एनर्जी जनरेट हो गई है वो किसी न किसी लेवल पे डिग्रेड होगी। पहली चीज तो ये कि अगर मान लीजिए फूड हमने कहीं से कुक कर लिया, उसके बाद वो हम किसी लेवल पे अगर यूज कर रहे हैं, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं तो डिग्रेड होगी, और डिग्रेड होने पे वो कहीं ना कहीं वेस्टेज जो जनरेट करेगी। तो एक तो सर ये वो है। दूसरी चीज ये है सर, सल्टर हाउस में जो एनिमल्स वगैरह जो काटे जाते हैं, ये जो भी चीजें होती हैं, उनके बाद जो उनके ब्लड और जो और वेस्टेज होते हैं, तो वो भी इसी पार्ट में ऐड होंगे कि वो भी कहीं ना कहीं एनवायरनमेंट को डिग्रेड कर रहे हैं?
वो भी कर रहे हैं, वो भी कर रहे हैं, वो तो सारा, इट इज ओवरऑल द एग्रीकल्चर, द फूड में तो सारी चीजें आ गई ना, फूड में तो सारी चीजें आ गई। अच्छा, दूसरी बात यह है कि वो एनर्जी वाली बात जो आप कह रहे हैं, इट्स इन द होलिस्टिक सेंस कि वो एनर्जी इज गेटिंग कंजर्व्ड फ्रॉम, इट इज नीदर क्रिएटेड नॉट डिस्ट्रॉयड, इट गेट्स कन्वर्टेड फ्रॉम वन फॉर्म टू अनदर, वो वाली बात जो आप कह रहे हैं, तो उसमें वो तो चीज अपनी जगह ठीक है, अल्टीमेटली दैट इज ट्रू। लेकिन वो एक 10% लॉ भी तो है ना, कि
जी
जो
सर, जी सर, जी सर, जी सर।
100 ग्रास दैट इज ईटन बाय द डियर, तो वो उसकी 10%
या
मीट
फूड
में
चेन
बन
का
गई,
जो रूल है सर, जी
फूड
सर,
चेन
फूड
का।
चेन
हाँ,
का।
तो वो बेसिकली वी आर मिसिंग ऑन दैट। अगर हम फूड वेस्ट कर रहे हैं तो हम उसको मिस कर रहे हैं, कुछ कुछ पर्सन का जो वो मीट में बन जाता उनकी बॉडीज में, सो दैट वी आर मिसिंग फूड वेस्ट करने से।
थैंक यू सर।
Yeah. तो आई थिंक
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
आई थिंक कुछ थोड़ा सा कुछ मतलब डेल्टा एक्स आप लोगों की थोड़ा सा उसमें वृद्धि हुई होगी इस लेक्चर के बाद, और कुछ थोड़ा सा आप लोग कुछ अप्रिशिएट किया होगा. आई थिंक आई होप आई वाज एबल टू convey my message to you. I don't know how much, but somewhat I was able to convey or not.
नहीं सर, कहा जाता है कि
Thank you
गागर
so
में
much.
सागर भरना। आपने अपने स्पीच के माध्यम से सर वास्तव में गागर में सागर भर दिया सर। कम समय में आपने ऑल इन ऑल एक्सप्लेन किया। थैंक यू, थैंक
So
यू।
very informative, sir.
So, okay, I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.